that we are struggling for now in Guyana. And so I'm convinced that whatever happens on Monday, that the People's Progressive Party will see its supporters go out early, stand in that line whether it's raining or it's hot sun, and that we will not be frustrated by a single official of GCOM, even if they try to delay the polls. We are strong enough to stand up one day for democracy and freedom in this country, and that not a single person will leave that line until they have had a chance to vote. Throughout, you have heard from Anil Nandalal the attempts to frustrate us, to rig the elections, beginning with the illegal appointment of Patterson, the chairman of GCOM. We had to go to the courts to remove him, because had he still been there today, we would have never had free and fair elections. You heard also from Anil about the house-to-house exercise that they started. Obviously, they knew that if they had dropped 20,000 or 50,000 names in PPP stronghold from the voters list, then we would have had two choices: either to lose the elections and go with that list because our supporters would have been off it, or give them an extension of time like what happened in 1990 when Dr. Jagan had to agree to 2 years extension of Hoyt's tenure in office. He had 7 years as president because the list was so bad. But we stopped that too. Then they tried to put 37,000 unverified names on the voters list. And we had to fight that. And when we verified the figure, it was only 16,000 new names. They wanted to add another 21,000 to the list. And even then, when we went through claims and objections, after the statutory process had been passed, they sought to change names and people's addresses, etc. And throughout it all, we remain vigilant. And today, the OLE is out, the official list. We have checked it once again. You should check it. But now it's a list decent enough to go to the elections and win these elections on the list, because they did not get a chance to drop our supporters from the list. And we had to fight for that. So don't underestimate for one moment the struggle that took place. And now you see at the last moment, last month, they gave us a list of polling places that the commission approved. And then last week, when we heard that there was a new list, we went there, Zulfikar wrote them, and we had to go and practically squat outside of Lowenfield's office. When we saw this list, in many PPP strongholds, they had reduced the number of polling places. And now we have been waging a battle. I made it clear that if this is not addressed on Wednesday, you will see 5,000 people in front of GCOM so that they don't disenfranchise. But now today, we met with several international observers. I just came from a meeting with the Commonwealth observers, and everyone knows our position. They've seen the Lowenfields unilaterally changing of the polling places. And we believe now they're in a corner. They will have to fix it so that the people in Fowles don't have to go to Paradise to vote, or in Monrepo. They don't all have to go to one school where one compound, 7,000 people to vote, because they know those are our strongholds. But even if we didn't get it fixed, we will move every single person. If we have to hire 50 minibuses, 50 minibuses, and fetch people on our backs, If we even have to fetch them on our backs, we will do so that the PPP will win these elections. This is what the struggle is about. Every single day, they put new hurdles, but we come from a party that has fought through all of these hurdles. They don't scare us. They don't intimidate us. They don't frighten us. We will stand up for the people of Guyana and for our supporters in this fight. And so, comrades, no matter what these hurdles are, we can overcome them. And you, the rest is with you. Make sure that on that day, every single voter comes out from your communities, from Enmore and from all the surrounding areas or wherever you're from. You have to help to ensure that happens. Every single voter must vote on that day. And that's your task tonight. That's why I came here to Enmore. We didn't need to have these meetings because we know you're going to come out and vote. You've seen the hardships, but I wanted to look you in your faces and ask for your help, your support, because we're all in this together. We have to make this happen for the sake of our children and the future of this country. And our party, you know why our message is so strong, why we lasted 23 years and they would only last one term. It's because of how we work. Chedi Jagan's party has worked for all of the people of this country wherever it has been in power. It was set up on that basis by Chedi Jagan. People of different races, people of different religions, different genders can all find a home in our party. We work for Guyana and all of its people. And that is why we're going to win these elections, because even many APNU supporters who have seen them break their promises, who genuinely thought that there would be a change in this country, now are disillusioned, and many of them are looking to the PPP for leadership, because we have an agenda for all of Guyana, for the development of our country. And that's why we're going to win these elections. Comrades, if you need evidence of the incompetence of this government, you just have to open the newspapers. Every single day, acts of incompetence. We have had a government that when we were in office, we had 18 ministers. I actually thought it was 17 and they had 27. But I looked at the article a couple days ago, and we had 18 ministers. They have 30 ministers. And let me tell you, 30 useless ministers. 30 totally useless ministers. But we're spending 10 times more on these 30 ministers than we were spending in the past. So, you know, they claim they don't have money for anything. They didn't have money to keep the sugar industry open. They didn't have money to keep the 10,000 grants for the children. They didn't have money to keep the free water for pensioners. But they can spend $1.6 billion more on food per year. $1.6 billion. Imagine the school kids grant used to cost $1.6 billion a year. They took that away, but increased food in government by $1.6 billion. Over $1 billion for ministerial domestic travel. Another $1 billion to rent buildings. That could have kept Enmore and Wales open. They needed only $5 billion to keep the sugar industry open and save not 7,000 jobs, but 11,000 jobs, because there are 4,000 people who depended on the 7,000 sugar workers' income for a job. 11,000 Guyanese could have been working, feeding their families. I've gone to places like Wales and Berbice, Kanji, and we see people now don't have food to eat. Families, fathers and mothers who were sending their children could feed them. Now they'll collect a little hamper, but they don't have a choice. Their children drop out of school because of this corrupt, uncaring government. And they did it for vindictive reasons. They didn't have to do that. So today, all the promises were broken to the sugar workers. Right here at Enmore, many people believe that too. They believe that this 20% increase they will get in salaries. But what did they get? 0 for the first year, 0 for the second year, 0 for the third year, 0 for the fourth year. Now we're in election, they say 1%. They want to give in the fifth year 1%. They canceled the API that had been in place for 70 years. Even under Burnham, they removed that from the sugar workers. So today, if anyone wants to talk about the broken promises, the sugar workers have lived it. They have seen the true nature of the government and people like Nagamotu and Ramjatan that came into these communities and lied to people, lied to them blatantly. And the rice farmers have suffered a similar fate. They too had promises that they believed. Many of them left us in the past. Well, they're back now with us, and they're part of our family. They're welcome back. But they thought they were going to get $9,000 a bag for paddy. Now all they got are higher taxes, land charges, machinery and equipment, pesticides, fertilizers, everything is taxed now. The same thing they said to the old age pensioners. 100 days we're doubling your old age pension. Within 100 days, if they win the elections. They increased it by 4,000 since they got into office and then took away the subsidy. The university kids were told free university education. Their fees went up by 35%. The Amerindians were told they would accelerate land title. We left nearly $2 billion. Nothing has happened in those areas. The miners who voted overwhelmingly for them, they too were made promises. Now the miners got heavy taxes. Thousands of miners have lost their jobs and their income. So everybody, the miners are waiting for March 2nd. The rice farmers are waiting for March 2nd. The sugar workers are waiting for March 2nd. And they see the writing on the wall. Don't worry with all the big bravado. There's panic, they're scared. They know what's coming next week, Monday. And we know what's coming too. So comrades, you can't trust them. Now at the last moment, they're making new promises. They put out a booklet that they call manifesto. But in that, there is no help to industries. Nothing about job creation. Nothing about the big promises of 2015. Because they have no achievement. They can't talk, come onto their platforms. Look at their rallies. It's about cussing everybody. The PPP, Jagdeo, they spend about 30-40% of their rallies cussing me. How my head is bald, it's big, I'm gay, all sorts of stupidness. But they don't have anything to talk about if you can talk about your achievements. Like when the PPP can say when it stood on the platform, when we came into office, there was 150 doctors in the public health system. When we left office, you had 1,400 because we sent over 1,000 kids to train in medicine. 300 of them have left now. We could talk about achievements. When we came into office, 153% of revenue was used to pay debts. When we left office, it was 4% of revenue. We paid back $3 billion of their debt, $3 billion US dollars, over 600 billion Ghana dollars. Imagine if we didn't have to pay that back, how much more development you would have seen under the PPP. I can go down a long list about roads, health centers, public infrastructure. Everything we built, the Marriott was corrupt. Now it's the most profitable Marriott in the Western Hemisphere. Every night they're drinking liquor at the same Marriott down there. Before the last elections, they said they would turn it into a hospital, the airport project. The East Coast Road, you drive on that, that road is a PPP project. We awarded the contract before we left office. Nothing, you heard that from before. Nothing new, absolutely nothing. No vision, no plans, no competence to run our country. This is what we have in this government. So comrades, it's quite clear when people don't have achievements and plans for the future, they drag the cup on a string or something like that. That is what they do because they can't lead this country. This is why we, a party that includes people, if we go to Linden, we have supporters. You go to Mabaruma, we have huge numbers of supporters. You go to Bartica, Lethem, Port Morant, here at Enmore. You've seen the crowds everywhere. The PPP has gone. People have come out to a message. And our message is one about fixing things. So we are fixing lots of things. So let me tell you about some of the things we want to fix. Because if they lost 30,000 jobs, they lost 30,000 jobs, comrade. What we have to do, the first act is to create back jobs, put people back to work. Now, how do we do that? We're gonna reopen the sugar estates, comrade, right across the country, with the exception of where we have to do that, to put those sugar workers, especially in Berbice, they have to go back to work. But let me tell you right here on the East Coast, the problems we'll have, because all the lands, the sugar lands, from here on the East Coast and all the way up the East Bank, they have already been giving out the land secretly. 150 acres they gave out only last week to some of their biggest cronies, comrades. We'd have to, guess what we'd have to do? After the government, the PPP government takes office on March 3rd, we'll have to find out all the secret deals that they made. And we're gonna take back all of those lands so we can develop it for the housing for people. We have made it clear that all the secret deals are going to be unraveled. And we will investigate them, and you will see. Remember the last elections, they were talking about who will go to jail? Well, watch out for how many of them will go to jail. Watch out. This is vital. This is vital too, comrades. So for housing, but we gotta create jobs. We gotta give back the industries, the concessions, and the help they had. So the rice farmers are going to get all their taxes removed from the machinery and equipment. We'll start spending back on drainage and irrigation, farm to market roads. We'll remove the taxes from their fertilizer, their pesticides. We will revert the land rental charges so the rice farmers can go back to work and employ people. The sugar workers must get back to work. The miners too, we plan to reverse all the taxes to status quo ante, meaning what we had under the PPP, they will get back. So when we reverse the 2% final tax, we will make sure that they get their machinery and equipment duty-free. Now the miners have to pay to sell their gold to the gold board. That will change too, so that they can put back people to work. In the forestry sector, everywhere else. That's the first task of the new government, to generate employment. The second thing we have to do is to put more money in people's pockets. So how are we gonna do this, comrade? They've put in place 200 new taxes and fees. So I see them working on a huge cup to come to Lusignan. So as Anel said, I hope to see all of you there. That's the final one. We need to send a big message sharp to there. So yes, I was telling you that we need to put more money in people's pocket. So they promised, they used to tell people, oh, the PPP is charging too much taxes. VAT is too high. When we get into office, we reduce it. So they drop it to 14%, and guess what they did? They put VAT on water, electricity, medicine, a whole 46 food items, interior travel, everything. Today they're collecting $91 billion more per year in taxes. You know what's $91 billion more per year? The total taxes in 2014, after 23 years in office, was $135 billion. In 4.5 years, nearly 5 years, they have moved that to $226 billion, an increase of $91 billion. Well, we have to reverse that because the taxes come from people's pockets. And if you reverse the taxes, that money will remain with them to spend back on their families in the markets and everywhere else. People complain that everything is slow today, and it's slow because the government is sucking out too much money in taxes from people's pockets. That is the next thing we have to do. Thirdly, how do we help people with cost of living? Because that is another big issue. So we made it clear we'll have to remove the taxes on electricity and water so that people have lower electricity and water bills. We have to make sure that pensioners get help, and that is why we said we're going to double the old age pension to $40,000 a month. So comrades, don't do like in Barbies. I went to Blackbush Polder. I had 15 meetings one day, whistle-stop meetings, about 2 weeks ago. And so the people here, when we said this to them, they said, people don't live so long here. Can't you drop the pension age to 50, old age pension to 50 years? By the time I reached the front of the polder, they wanted it dropped to 45 years. Then I went to Ramjatan village where he doesn't get anybody to show. We win all the votes. And they said, can we get it at 35 years old age pension? So we couldn't promise that. And so, comrades, because we have to get more money in people's pocket, that will put $9 billion a year more in the pensioners' pockets, because it's going to cost about 45 million US dollars. And that's where the oil money has to be used. It has to go back to our old people, help them so that they can spend. They would spend every cent of it. That means the markets, etc. Then how else can we help? We have to help by ensuring that education becomes cheaper. So that is why we said we want to do 20,000 online scholarships. We want to remove the fee from the University of Guyana. We want to make sure that all the students who have a loan to the university, we write off those loans. We want to make sure that every school child has all the textbooks, because now we'll have money to support that. We want to introduce a nutrition program in school to support families. And more importantly, we want to go give back the grant, the 10,000 grant, and then increase it to $50,000 per child. So when I said this in Barbies again, a lady said, I got 4 children. That means 200,000 a year. So the others say, like, you gotta make more picture here. But we want them. We want the young voters, right too. We want them to work out. So, comrades, that means people have more to spend and support to send their kids to school, to reduce the cost of living. We have to then spend on health care. We gotta get back all of our doctors, train them. We have to have drugs in the hospital. So now, because of the corruption, and I don't even need to tell you about all of these corruption. Take, for example, one man, a man named Larry Singh. They gave him $25 million. He went and bought a house for $25 million. And then he rented the house back to the government at $12.5 million a month. He renting a house to the government. They call it a drug bond. Now, comrades, he gets in a year, 1 year, more money, one man gets in a year more money than the entire budget for Region 4 for healthcare capital works. All the people who live from Mahaica all the way up to the highway, they get less money, half of what in the budget for healthcare than this one man gets from the government. Just imagine the magnitude of the corruption. That is why we don't have drugs in the hospital. They're spending more money now, but we're getting less for it. So that's the first order of priority, making sure that the hospitals have drugs. Then we're gonna have to use the oil resources to invest in quality health care. They killed the specialty hospital. If that one hospital, remember Ramjatan and the others, and many comrades think, they say, oh, they had 5 years. They really didn't have 5 years. You remember in 2011, they won control over the parliament. They had a 1-seat majority. So they have controlled the parliament from 2011 to 2020, nearly 9 years. And what did they do between 2011 and 2015? They cut $90 billion from the budget. That's when they killed the hydropower that would have been producing power now at half the price. So they have had 9 years of destruction. 9 years of destruction. Many times our people think that. But they killed that hospital that we're going to build at Turkine. People would have had open heart surgery that costs you $30,000 US abroad. They would have had it there for $4,000 to $5,000 US. And we used to give every family going abroad for heart care $5,000 as a cash grant from the government. So that would have been enough to do their operations. They killed it because of corruption, the same way that they killed the hydropower. Ramjatan wanted one of his clients to get that project, and it didn't happen. And so, comrades, we have to take some of the oil resources and invest in the best education, ensure that people get some of it, but also the best health care in the world, so that people right here in their communities could have advanced health care, better specialists, etc. We have to tackle that. We need to spend a lot of resources and tackle crime too. Crime is a big thing. Today, Granger talks about the trouble period, and the period when we had a massive crime wave. And, and then he blames the PPP for it. But you know why Granger never held a commission of inquiry? Granger held nearly 15 commissions of inquiry, spent over $500 million on them, including $70 million on wonderful guy Suku. And why did he not name a commission of inquiry? Because I said, start from when the people escaped to when they were killed, the bandits, or locked up. And he skipped all of that. And then he chose the Lindo Creek, where Feynman and that gang accused the army and police of committing that act. So he was more interested in absolving Feynman and the other groups than in investigating what took place in that area. And you know why he avoided it? Because from the time those people escaped, you had PNC leaders, many of them there until now in this government, who visited Buxton, who helped them to stay in Buxton. Not the regular people in Buxton, the Buxtonians suffered too. They suffered because many of them were harassed, their buildings burned, the girls raped, etc. The people in Buxton, many of them did not agree. But when these gunmen were walking around in the place, held by APNU, how many times did the soldiers and the police go in there and many PNC leaders turn up, and they encourage the women and children to come in front of the soldiers and the policemen. How you heard the tape between Basil Williams and Felix, where Felix said he had to divert attention from what happened, the Agricola massacre. So comrades, the thing is that this is not about black and Indian or Afro-Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese or so. This is about some criminals who they give support to, because many people were killed. 25 policemen were killed, and they were Afro-Guyanese. Afro-Guyanese soldier was shot in his eye when they went there to get rid of these bandits. But you have never heard one single day that since we've been in opposition, we've described any bandit as freedom fighter. That is how they used to call the people who were killing innocent people. So even now, Granger has had over 650 murders in the last 5 years of his tenure. More than in that period too, 650 murders. Why do you think this is the man who said he had a plan to reduce crime, and then 3 years after being in office, he got a report from a man named Russell Combe from the UK and said with this report he'll end crime in Guyana. Who was asked recently, Granger, what's your solution? And he said, I have appointed 4 deputy commissioners. The Granger has just lost it. This guy doesn't live in the real world here. He lives somewhere out in space. The crime is raging and we have to fix it. And we cannot have any government, any person describing bandits as freedom fighters. You have to deal with them condignly, but you also have to find jobs for the kids, because many people, if you don't have a job, especially the petty crime, they will go into that. So you got to work at finding jobs for people, for the kids too. So we have to fix that. We have to make sure in our manifesto, if you read it, our plans about the future. And tonight I can tell you about our plans because we have them. We said we want to remove the age restriction on vehicle. The moment they put that age restriction on vehicle, because they drive new vehicles, the price of the cheapest vehicle in Guyana went up by over $1 million. So we have to reduce that. You have the price of vehicles reduced. We want to lower taxes on vehicles so more people can own vehicles. We have to get jobs for people. We have to get housing for them. This government has not done anything for housing. Nothing whatsoever. Yet they have given out 60,000 acres. 60,000 acres to 10 persons in the government. The current chairman of MMA has 10,000 acres. Imagine that alone could do 50,000 house lots because you have 5 house lots per acre. That's the difference. We have to get people cheaper homes. That's why we said low-income homes below $100,000 for the house lot. You have to get them jobs. We got to reduce the cost of living. We got to tackle crime. We got to get the education and health systems going back again. These are the important things for our people. And so tonight I'm not going to spend much more time going through this long list. Please check it yourselves. Read our manifesto. See what we have for young people, for older people, for the industries, giving help back to all the industry. That is what we're about. So comrades, I didn't want to speak too much tonight because I want to save some for Lusitnan, so you come there and get another part here. And I need all of you to go back home early and to keep working. We have 6 days more to go. 6 days more to go for a change of government, a PPP government in office. And only you can make this happen. not just by showing up here, but lending a helping hand, doing a bit more, assisting on that day, taking your own initiative to go to each home. Don't wait on somebody else. Use your car if you have a car. As I said, a bicycle or whatever. We get to the polling places on that day. This is what is necessary now. We're doing this so that this country will never go the Granger's vision. You know, Granger has a couple of comments he made betrayed his dictatorial tendencies. We knew that he came from the army and he had a sordid history with ballot boxes. But if you want more evidence of his intentions, evil intentions, dictatorial intentions, look at two recent comments he made. He said at their launch, I want to remove no confidence vote from the Constitution. Now, the United Kingdom, which is the mother of Westminster type of democracy that we have, has a no confidence vote. A government can fall there in a day based on a single vote, and they have 50-odd million people. In India, you have 1 billion voters. 1 billion, not million. 1 billion. And one person in parliament can vote, and the government falls, and they have to go back to elections. But King Granger doesn't want that in Guyana. He wants to change the no confidence vote from the Constitution. It tells you a lot about his tendencies. And secondly, he said recently, I want to remove dual citizenship from people. So there's one you gone, you got any citizen gone, citizenship gone. He lives in the UK, he loses. So all your family abroad, Granger wants to take away their Guyanese citizenship. Now, he says, I have the power to do this. Every president from Burnham to Ramatar, all the other presidents had the power to do this. It's in the Constitution. But which president ever said that they want to exercise that power? Not single time, not once. Granger had to remind people now. So if he wins again, he will arbitrarily exercise this provision of the Constitution. And so, comrades, that just tells you about the peril that our democracy is in. If we need evidence about this peril, we've seen enough of it. And if we need future evidence about the threats, the ominous threats to the future, then you also have evidence of that. So that's why I started off by saying, this is not just about bread and butter, although that's very important for us to prosper. We have to win these elections. But it's also about our freedom. There's one other issue I want to mention to you before I close tonight. It is this wanton sellout of the oil and gas industry. Now, you know that we have been criticizing the negotiations. Well, first of all, I saw Joey Jagan a couple days ago. Have you seen him? Well, he said they bring the oil to Guyana. Well, here, if Chetty Jagan thought he was useless, and Janet Jagan thought he was useless, who am I to dispute Chetty Jagan and Janet Jagan? He doesn't even know his mother signed the agreement in 1999. But he's sitting with, remember the last election? He was with them too. But he used to protest his own father, Chetty Jagan. And he loves the Jagan name now, sporting the Jagan name. Well, we know one Chetty Jagan, the real Chetty Jagan, one of them, the one who formed the PPP and struggled for the people of Guyana. That's an authentic Chetty Jagan. Any other Chetty Jagan? Not that. But the oil and gas, we fought a long time. In 1999, Janet Jagan signed that agreement. Exxon came here. And then we started exploring in Suriname, offshore, CGX. And a Surinamese gunboat came there and we had an incident. And I had to invoke a compulsory arbitration under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. We went to arbitration and we won the case. And only there, after that, did Exxon lift the force majeure and restarted the exploration around 2008. And then they explored and found oil under the PPP. So this afternoon didn't bring no oil to Guyana. It was the hard work of the People's Progressive Party. That was it. And then, when we found the oil, they renegotiated the contract. And so Global Witness, an international organization, said in those renegotiations, we lost 55 billion US dollars. Now, I told you we collected 226 billion Guyana dollars in taxes 2019. That's about 1 billion US dollars at the exchange rate. So it means that APNU, because of their incompetence and corruption, gave away 55 years of taxes in the future. If you take 55 billion US dollars and multiply it by the exchange rate, it gives you over 11 trillion Guyana dollars. That works out to over $15 million for every man, woman, and child that we lost in these negotiations because of this incompetent group of people we have in government. And now, they don't even acknowledge it's a problem, so you can't fix it. Well, after March 2nd, we will fix it because the oil belongs to our people and we have to enjoy a fair share of it. So, in those negotiations, the Global Witness said, investigate Truckman and Nigel Lewis, because Nigel Lewis from the AFC was on the Exxon side, and in the agreement, his name, his company address is mentioned. And then Truckman is on the government side, and they're both from the AFC and negotiating. So there was a call to negotiate. But forget all of that. The government then went and hired a company called Crichton Company from the United Kingdom. We don't know how much millions they spend here. But their own report said that the oil company, Exxon, wrote the cabinet memo of the negotiating position for the government. So, like, I'm buying your house, and you, I sit down, I gotta negotiate a price with you, and you tell me what price I should negotiate with you. You write my brief. This is a criminal act. The company will write the negotiating brief for the government. Criminal, it's not criminally negligent, it's just criminal. That is what we have in this government. Comrades, they have made a mess of the whole sector. The minister, they hit the first 18 million US we had. You saw Jordan denied they ever received it. And a couple nights ago, he said, oh, I don't know how we got 18, but I thought it was a gift. He thought the 18 million US was a gift. That's why they hide it and didn't put it in the government accounts. That is what we have here. A bunch of hustlers, a bunch of thieves. And so, comrades, and we're going to prove it. We don't talk, spread rumors. We have evidence of this. Watch out and you will see after March 2nd. Just watch. So, comrades, just look, in 2016, when you produce oil, you get gas coming out. We have so much gas out there. So in 2016, they were supposed to build a pipeline to decide where the pipeline would land. They didn't decide on the pipeline. because many of them wanted to buy up land in this area. They want to take the pipeline to about Unity, where I come from, up the road. So the ministers now have bought up a lot of lands there, the old Voodoo estate, all gone. And so they made no decision. The consequence is today that now Exxon has started producing oil. They have to burn the gas. They're burning 1 billion cubic feet of gas per day. At the price for gas, that's $2 million US, or over 400 million Guyana dollars we're burning per day. Rather than bringing it here to generate power. And if we bring it in and generate power, the price of electricity could come down by more than half to people, lowering the cost of living, but also giving our industries a boost because the cost of power is too much. Well, we decided one of the first acts will be to build a pipeline to make sure it comes in. Within 2.5 years or so, we want to make sure we have at least 200 megawatts of power so the price of electricity to the consumers can come down significantly. Then we'd have enough power to do all the street lights across Guyana and everywhere else, including in the communities, because we'll be using our own gas to generate power. We would not have to import oil to do so. So the incompetence and corruption is unbelievable. We can't allow them to stay a day longer than March 3rd. And that is why, comrades, be prepared to defend democracy. Be prepared to ensure that after, on March 3rd, that the PPP comes into office. But even before that, if necessary, we call on you on Wednesday, then be ready for that too. Because we'll fight tooth and nail to ensure that the inevitable takes place. That is a People's Progressive Party victory. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for being here tonight. As I said before, we want you to go back, help out, come to Lusican, get ready, get everybody ready in your area. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Thank you very much.